At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Klaus Schwab and the CEO of Pfizer, Bourla, lamented all the conspiracy theories that have been targeting them. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we will talk about the truth of Pfizer's. But before we head up to the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to never miss any video. Pfizer has made nearly $26 billion in revenue in the first 3 months of the year, the bulk from its COVID-19 vaccine and new pill to treat the virus, promoting fresh accusations of pandemic profiting. COVID vaccines saved many lives around the world and relied on the pressure on health systems, but Pfizer has faced criticism over its vaccine pricing and its refusal to waive patent protection to enable others to make the jab. The campaign from Global Justice Now, ACT, IP London, Just Treatment and Stop AIDS protested against what they call pandemic profiteering and delivered wheelbarrows full of fake money to Pfizer's UK headquarters in Dervat on the date of the company's annual shareholder meeting. The global vaccine rolled out has created a level of inequality so great that many call it vaccine apartheid. Pharmaceutical corporations like Pfizer have led this rollout, setting the terms by which they sell vaccines and deciding who to prioritize. Ultimately, their approach affects who does and does not receive vaccines. Right from the start, Pfizer was clear that it wanted to make lots of money from COVID. The company claims its vaccine costs just under £5 per dose to the orifice. Others have suggested it could be much cheaper. Either way, the company is seeking a huge profit, and the government paid £18 a shot for its first order and £22 for its most recent purchase. That means the NHS has paid a markup of at least £2 billion, 6 times the cost of the pay rise the government agreed to give nurses last year. It has been claimed that the company initially tried to pitch their medicine to the U.S. government for an eye-popping $100 a dose. Tom Frieden, a former director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, accused the firm of war profiteering. Pfizer has sold the vast majority of its dose to the richest countries in the world, a strategy sure to keep its profits high. If you look at its global distribution, Pfizer sells a tiny proportion of its vaccines to low-income countries. By last October, Pfizer had sold a measly 1.3% of its supply to COVAX, the international body set up to try to ensure fairer access to vaccines. Dozens of Republicans and Democrats lawmakers on Capitol Hill have invested in companies that have a direct stake in the nation's response to that
COVID-19
pandemic, according to an insider analysis of federal financial records. In 2002, at least 13 senators and 35 U.S. representatives held shares of Johnson & Johnson, the medical company, held shares of the behemoth that produced the shingle-shot
COVID-19
vaccine that more than 14 million Americans have received. At least 11 senators and 34 representatives also held shares in 2020 of another
COVID-19
vaccine manufacturer, Pfizer. 2 representatives of their spouses held shares of Modern during the same year that the world went touchdown in response to the pandemic. Lawmakers held these investments in
COVID-19
minded companies as Congress was at the center of pandemic relief efforts. In 2020 and 2021, members of Congress voted on 6 relief bills together worthy of nearly $6 trillion. Congress also authorized more than $10 billion to help drug companies develop and distribute vaccines, and forced health insurers to cover the cost of getting the shot. Policymakers especially viewed the coronavirus vaccines developed by Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna, which ESAC spent substantial amounts of money lobbying the federal government in 2020, as critical to helping countries around the planet overcome the grip of the pandemic. The tally of investments is part of the exhaustive Conflicted Congress project, in which Insider reviewed nearly 9,000 financial disclosure reports for every sitting lawmaker and their top-ranking staffers. Pfizer CEO Bourla said on Sunday the 4th dose of the COVID-19 vaccine will be necessary to continue to help keep hospitalizations manageable and sickness milder. Right now, the way that we have seen, it is necessary for a 4th booster. The protection that you are getting from the 3rd is good enough. Actually quite good for hospitalization and deaths, Bourla said while appearing on CBS's Face the Nation. It's not that good against infections, but doesn't last very long. but we are just submitting those data to the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. And then we will see what the experts also will say outside Pfizer, he added. In August, the FDA fully approved Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for people at least 16 years old or older. The third dose of Pfizer's vaccine has been granted emergency use authorization. Bourla told CNBC on Saturday of his company's plans to submit data for a fourth COVID-19 dose. It's clear that there is a need in an environment of Omicron to boost the immune response, he said while appearing on CNBC's Squawk Box. Countries including Israel, Chile, and Germany have already begun recommending fourth COVID-19 doses for high-risk groups. Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan asked Bourla if he expects to be able to avoid the same confusion over the booster shots that came about when the third vaccine dose was being deployed. I think so. And I think right now we need to be very well coordinated, CDC, FDA, and the industry, so that we are all providing to the American people and the works a cohesive picture rather than confusion, he said. During his interview, Bourla reiterated his company's goal of creating a vaccine effective against all variants of COVID-19 for longer periods. We are working very hard right now to make not only a vaccine that will protect against all the variants, including Omicron, but also something that can be protected for at least a year, he said. And if we can achieve that, then I think it is very easy to follow and remember so that we can go back to the way you used to live. Pfizer and other large pharmaceutical corporations are pushing block legislation that would make it easier for whistleblowers to hold companies liable for corporate fraud. Amid a dizzying legislative environment, with much attention focused on the Build Back Better debate, major corporate interests, including Pfizer's, are fighting an update to the False Claims Act, a Civil War-era law that rewards whistleblowers for filing anti-fraud lawsuits against contractors on behalf of the government. The law has historically returned $67 billion to the government, with the whistleblowers successfully helping uncover wrongdoing by military contractors, banks, and pharmaceutical companies. The law has been particularly thorny for Pfizer. In 2009, Pfizer paid $2 billion in criminal and civil fines to settle allegations that the company illegally marketed several drugs for off-label purposes that were specifically not approved by the Food and Drug Administration. The company instructed its marketing team to advertise Bextra, which was approved only for arthritis and central cramps, for acute and surgical pain issues. The lawsuit, brought under the False Claims Act through the actions of 6 whistleblowers, ended in one of the largest healthcare fraud settlements. But the law poses far less risk today to companies engaged in criminal behavior. That's because the anti-fraud statute has been severely hampered by a series of federal court decisions that radically expanded the scope of what's known as materiality. In 2016, the Supreme Court ruled on Universal Health Services, United States ex rel. Escobar, that a fraud lawsuit could be dismissed if the government continued to pay the contractor. The court reasoned that if the government continues to owe a company despite the fraudulent activity, then the fraud is not material to the contract. The ruling functionally neutered the application of the False Claims Act against many companies that are so large that the government can't abruptly sever payments, especially against large healthcare interests and defense contractors. Recent court decisions, including cases involving Honeywell and Halliburton, show contractors winning dismissal of fraud cases by simply citing continued government payments. Last year, a federal district court dismissed a False Claims Act case against engineering company AECOM, brought by a whistleblower alleging widespread billing fraud for a $2 billion contract in Afghanistan. AECOM lawyers also cite the government's continued payments to the company. The lawsuit is now under appeal. What's more, the federal government has taken an active role in discouraging cases. In 2018, the Trump administration's Justice Department issued the Granston Memo, which encouraged the dismissal of more whistleblower-initiated suits under the False Claims Act. In October, Attorney General Merrick Garland officially rescinded the overly restrictive memo, a move widely seen as designed to promote greater False Claims Act enforcement. What do you think about all these? Let us know in the comment section below. We hope it is quite informative for you. Thank you for giving your time to us. And that's it for today, guys. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please click on the like button and share it with your friends and family. If you have any questions or comments, please share them with us in the comment space below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see even more of our incredible videos. You can also check out our other videos that have been specially selected for you. We'll catch up in the next video.